I'm Juliette and my role at the Broads Authority is the Farming and Protective Landscapes Officer. I work under Hannah Norman, the Farming and Catchment Officer. This presentation will provide an introduction to the Farming and Protective Landscape Scheme run by the Broads Authority. Shortened to FiPL, it is a DEFRA-funded scheme run by all protected landscapes in England. We work closely with the Norfolk Coast AMB and other protected landscape, so some of the information in this presentation will be relevant to both of the areas. So protected landscapes cover national parks and areas of outstanding national beauty in England. We have 10 national parks, including the Broads, and 34 AONBs, including the Norfolk Coast, that cover nearly 25% of land in England. The areas are designated in recognition of their national importance and to ensure that their character and qualities are protected for all to enjoy. Protected landscapes are important because they play an important role in the current fight against rising carbon emissions. The areas are home to some of our most important species, around 60% of England's remaining peat and over 50% of our SSSIs. They also support local rural communities. National ports themselves directly support 75,000 jobs and attract 260 million visitors per year. They also have a diverse range of biodiversity. They provide important habitats for a range of species that are vital for nature and nature recovery. And lastly, they play a role in our health and well-being. Around 64% of England's population live within 15 miles of protected landscape. DEFRA have created this funding scheme to provide opportunities for people to enjoy and enhance these landscapes, and it's part of the government's commitment to protect 30% of land by 2030. So just an introduction to the scheme itself. So Farming and Protected Landscapes is a grant programme for farmers, land managers and people in national parks and AONBs. It is delivered by farmers working in partnership with Protected Landscapes and key land management advice partners such as the RSPB or FLAG. It supports projects that address key challenges set by DEFRA but also recognised by the Broads that help improve and prevent damage to the landscape. It provides a bottom-up approach as we're not telling you what to do and there is not a list of predetermined projects. Projects are proposed by farmers and approved by our panel. The scheme assists in providing additional short-term investment. It works alongside, not in competition with, existing schemes and adds value where it is most needed. It's a fairly short programme that provides one-off grants that will hopefully lead on to applicants joining other ELM schemes. And lastly, it's a flexible scheme. Projects and ideas that can't receive funding through other alternatives such as stewardship or SFI may qualify for FiPL funding. Just before we dive into the eligibility and outcomes of the programme, these are a few more specifics. The programme is currently running from July 2021 to March 2025. It has been extended by a year, but the upcoming year will be the last opportunity to apply for funding. We are now accepting applications for the fourth and final year of the programme. This involves projects that will start in April 2024 and finish by March 2025. So the eligibility, if you can apply, the programme is open to all farmers and land managers within the protected landscape, so both the Broads and the Norfolk Coast AONB. It could also support activity on other land outside of the hard borders of the protected landscape, where a project will benefit the protected landscape or align with the Broads objectives and partnership initiatives. You must manage all land in the application and have control of the activities you're proposing or written consent before applying. Other organisations and individuals can apply if it's in collaboration with a farmer or land manager or supports a farmer or group of farmers such as a farm cluster. So this is just the protected landscape areas of the Broads. The first map shows the hard borders of the Broads National Park. This is the area where projects can be applied for. The second map shows the Broadland Rivers catchment area. If you are outside of the executive boundary and wish to apply for a grant, such as within the catchment area, the project must have a clear impact on the protected landscape, such as water quality in the Broads, or something innovative that connects the Broads in another way. The funds provided by DEFRA are not large. Therefore, the further you are from the protected landscape border, the harder it will be to successfully receive money, and projects could be rejected if they are too far away from the Broads or do not show a clear benefit to the Broads. For the 4 themes of the programme, so whilst providing value for money, therefore have recognised 4 key themes which projects should aim to meet at least one. These include climate, such as reduced flood risk or more carbon being stored or sequestered; nature, including greater habitat connectivity and biodiversity; people, including increasing and diversifying access, which therefore allows for more opportunities for people to explore, enjoy and understand the landscape; and lastly, place, including conserving historic structures in the landscape and providing resilient farm businesses. Your project must also support the priorities of the Protected Landscapes Management Plan. In our case, this is the Broads Plan, which sets out our priorities over the next 5 years. Many of our priorities align with the DEFRA themes and their aims. So just a few example projects will be funded in the Broads through the FiPL. Firstly, nature. We have funded the enhancement of a wildflower meadow in Puswick to ensure that areas of diverse habitat are protected. We've also funded a reservoir on a soft fruit farm to provide irrigation in the summer months. It's helped to reduce flood risk and restore river quality in the area. Secondly, in terms of people, we've funded educational projects which help disadvantaged children visit a farm in the Broads to help understand where their food comes from. We've also funded a people carrying trailer to assist with the farm visits to provide diverse access and inclusive trips. In terms of climate, we've funded a farm cluster group in the Waveney Valley that have investigated improving soil health through efficient nutrient use and land management techniques. And lastly, in terms of place, we funded the restoration of Somerton Mill Cap, that is an important structure of the unique landscape of the Broads. So I'm just going to touch on an industry that is inherent to the Broads and is a great example of fulfilling the FiPL themes. So since 2021, the Broads FiPL scheme has supported the reed and sedge cutting industry, and we have funded 14 projects within the community at a total of £85,885. The reed and sedge cutting industry is both culturally and environmentally important to the Broads. It helps to maintain the unique landscape whilst keeping a traditional profession alive. The cutters often find it hard to receive funding through other schemes, as they often undertake self-employed work on third-party land, hence why we are proud of the work FiPL has achieved in the industry. Funded projects have included the refurbishment of old machinery, as well as the purchase of new equipment to enable applicants to cut reed and sedge and expand the areas that they cut. Projects have also included training programs and ensuring that new entrants have the correct licenses in place in order to start cutting. One of the cutters we have worked with has now taken on an apprentice, so the funding has encouraged and enabled people to enter the profession. Consequently, this is a great example of how projects can fit into more than one FiPL theme. The reed and sedge cutting projects often cover place, climate and nature, meaning that they score highly and are more likely to have a higher intervention rate. So how to apply to the scheme and the application process and the funding is available. So if you're interested in the scheme, please get in touch with a FiPL officer, me, to discuss any ideas before applying. The guidance notes and application form can be found on our website. Please also reach out to us to discuss any ideas, and we can help assist with the application form and provide guidance or come out to site. We have a rolling window and you can apply now at any time up to March 2025 for the last year of the programme. Please submit and discuss any applications with us as soon as you are ready. All consents and approval must be gained prior to the application, such as planning permission or approval from the landowner. Applications should comply with the conditions outlined in any tenancy agreements. And lastly, for the financial year 24-25, all projects must start and finish in that given year, meaning that works must be completed by the end of March 2025. So just a brief overview on how the FiPL scheme is delivered within the Broads and the funding allocation. The total project funding allocation for the final year of the programme is £380,000. We try to maximise the amount of money that is set aside for delivering projects and grants. The pie chart to the side shows our overall budget and allocations to advice, administration costs, and project delivery. By combining our land management board with the Norfolk Coast AONB, it reduces the amount of time spent on reduces the amount of money spent on admin and allows more money for projects. The land management board is our panel that approves applications. I'll speak more about this in a moment. So this brings us on to the funding and scoring system involved in the projects. So first thing to know is that you can be in other ELM schemes, but you can't be paid twice from Treasury funds for the same work. For FiPL funding, the intervention rate is 40 to 100% of project costs, depending on the commercial gain of the project. The highest intervention rate we usually offer is 80% unless there is exceptional justification for 100%, such as the project being solely for educational purposes or no commercial gain. Machinery is generally funded at 40 to 60%. If a machine or piece of equipment is in the Farming Equipment Transformation Fund or an activity is in CS, we have to match the funding rate for that given item or activity. For example, if you're undertaking hedge planting or fencing, you are paid the same rate as identified in CS. If a project or activity is not in another scheme, we ask for 3 quotes to show value for money, and then we aim for activities to be funded at 40 to 80% of these costs. The maximum grant value is $75,000 per project. So how your projects will be assessed and scored. So 40% in terms of project outcomes. This assesses how much or which of the 4 themes of people, place, climate and nature the project is set to deliver. 20% in terms of value for money. This looks into the quotes. Is there much funding and what intervention rate you are seeking to achieve? 20% in terms of sustainability and legacy of the project. So what will happen after the project ends? Is there scope for developing the project further? And lastly, 20% for feasibility of delivery and how likely you are to carry out the project. So this includes if you have contractors lined up, where machinery is being purchased from, and the overall time frame of the project. Applications over 10,000 will be judged by a land management panel who will provide comments. The panel is made up of our partners such as FWAG, NFU, as well as local farmers and landowners. They are well informed of the local priorities of the Broads and Norfolk Coast, and applications under 10,000 will be scored and assessed internally by a senior team member with the approval of our CEO. It is worth noting that if there is an increase in costs between applying for a grant and putting a claim in, the applicant must cover that increase, such as inflation or increased material costs. So in terms of agreements of grants, once an application is approved, an agreement is drawn up, and once it's signed, you can commence activities. The agreement will specify the conditions of the funding, such as making sure you stay in touch with us during your project and holding on to any invoices or taking photos of progress. The scheme works on a reimbursement basis. Once we receive evidence that a project is finished, we will process the claim. And after agreements end, you must maintain capital infrastructure for 5 years. You must maintain machinery assets for 5 years. However, you will not need to maintain any natural, cultural, or access activities. So lastly, just the summary of the programme. The programme offers funding of up to $75,000 for a flexible range of projects. Any projects must be completed by March 2025. If you'd like to find out more or submit an application, then please do get in touch. My details are on the screen, or alternatively, we have an inquiry form on our website. Thank you for listening. We're now going to hear from a few previous applicants that have received funding through the FiPL scheme. First of all, over to Joe Mitchell to talk about the equipment that he has had funded through the FiPL scheme. And then we're going to hear from Sean, who is another Norfolk FLAG member that has received funding through the scheme. Thank you for the speakers and thank you for listening. Please do get in touch if you have any questions or ideas or would like to apply. Thank you.
Quick introduction to me. I'm Joe Mitchell. I farm over in Norfolk Broads area, basically either side of Potter Heigham. We are a 225 hectare mixed family farm And as you can see on the screen, with 120 hectares of arable, 82 grassland and some woodland, with suckler cows, some sheep, and our main enterprise now is our free range egg laying unit. Yeah, we've made use of the FiPL scheme. We've had probably what could be described, it's a bit like the Olympics for us here. We've had 10 years worth of prospective investment in the last 6 months. So we have been it feels like we've been spending money like royalty at the moment. So but yeah, we've got 3 projects on the go at the moment, and this was done with well, firstly, for the application process for us was speaking to our Broads advisor. At the time it was Andrew Kelly. Now speak to Hannah in Norfolk Broads, and yeah, and our application was put together with the help of Neil at Norfolk FWAG, and yeah, we had 3 really good applications for the projects which I've got on the go now. So hopefully, let's go ahead and hopefully this will work. There. Yeah. Number 1 was our people carrying trailer for especially for educational access. Now this was it was 100% funding under the FiPL, but in the end it turned out not to be quite 100% due to price rises and etc. But this here is we have done educational access, part of our stewardship schemes for many years now, part of our higher level stewardship scheme, and now part of our new countryside stewardship scheme, which started beginning of this year. And this is really for getting school children onto farm. And I work in particular, you see the logo at the bottom, with the Country Trust. I'm a host farmer for them, and I do between 7 to 10 visits, hosting. It can be up to 30, 40 children each time. Yeah, so it's a very, very busy and hectic day, but yeah, we get to go around the whole farm, you know, looking at the cows, looking at the crops, and having a good discussion about our environment and where our food comes from. So if you get the opportunity to do educational visits, please do it. The Country Trusts especially are crying out for host farmers as well. But this trailer here, it is available for farms in the area. Part of the application was to be made available to others doing similar things. So it's basically not a glorified gun trailer, and that is one stipulation which I have said it is not to be used for that. Solely for getting people out onto the farm. So again, if you're doing something like Country Sun or Open Farm Sunday, perfect thing if anyone wants to use it for that. As you can see, it's got wheelchair access, because I'm very aware that some people, some children weren't able to access what we were doing because it was basically a big long farm walk. But with this, we can actually see more of the farm, hopefully into the woodlands and all sorts. But we'll see. Yeah, first use of it was last month for the church, Wild Church, and we ended up hosting about 80 to 90 people, and we sort of drove them around the farm. I don't know if they came for the farm visit or the barbecue, but yeah, it's yeah, we managed to get probably about, it's a 39-seater trailer, and we managed to fill every seat, so it was really good and well used. So we're very pleased with that, and as I said, it's available to anyone who wants to get the public on farm and show people the areas. Yeah, second project was our compost turning. I think, apologies for the pictures on these. These are straight from the manufacturer's website, but they're better than the pictures which I've got. Now we're composting. We've got because of a free range egg unit, we produce a lot of poultry manure, and with the cattle we've got farmyard manures as well. And especially with the new farming rules for water, which we got dumped on us last September, this has, I think this is going to hopefully come into its own. And it's basically, can we make these poultry manures into a better, more usable product? Because we're very restricted on storage of it, and when they could be applied, especially with all the new rules which are coming in, or which came in. So it's basically, can we make this into a nice stable product, that, and I suppose the golden aim is, can we have a product that we can actually spread into a growing crop and actually use the nutrients from the compost at the right time? And at the moment I've only just started doing some composting with it, but I think at the moment it's a big learning exercise at the moment, and we've basically got to get the right recipe to produce some really good compost. And I think this is going to be a real game changer, especially for other farms, not only on the Broads perspective, but from around the country. Now, hopefully, will this work? Here we go. Hopefully the video will work. There. Wow. Did that work, Hannah? Good. Fantastic. Good. So this is basically our first time out with it, and we're mixing straw in there with some poultry manure, and farmyard manures in there as well. So it's basically a big experiment, and can we get the right recipe? We watch this space to see how good this is going to be. But this is a project which would not normally be funded by any other scheme, and I think this is the FiPL has been, the FiPL funding has been really unique in it is supporting sort of slightly out there projects, which is good. My next and final project, I'm not going to dwell too much onto this, because it's really been superseded. This sort of funding has been superseded by by the farming investment funds. But whilst that was just a twinkle in Secretary of State's eye, we got some funding to try and do some regenerative agriculture in the Norfolk Broads. Can it work with in an area which is based on the plough, sugar beet and potatoes? Hopefully good. See if I can learn some lessons and a bit of knowledge exchange within local farmers. And can we prevent any nutrient losses, etc., into the Broad system? Again, this is just as proof to Hannah. This actually arrived on the farm last week. So we are hopefully in the next week get to play and go on a new journey of direct drilling, mineral tillage, and let's stick our socks and sandals on and see what we can do. But it's as I said, this has been superseded by the farming investment funds. So I'm not going to dwell too much on this, because I think looking for funding, go elsewhere on this. Okay, thank you, Hannah.
Okay, right. Just a little bit of potted history. I'm not far from Joe, actually, over at a little village called Lessingham. Quick potted. My father bought the farm from his father back in the 70s. It used to be predominantly a pig farm. Obviously, as rules changed, it evolved some of the buildings, removed some of the buildings, and it's only a farm. Well, it's a 59-acre farm, but 42 acres are farmed. From 2010, we put 5 acres into the high-level stewardship, And then in July 2010, my father passed away. So then from 2010, 2016, the farm just generally sat there unused. Some of the buildings were used for some storage and livestock storage, because my sister has a farm over at Hemingham, so they use some of their cattle there, but they've reduced their cattle, so they don't need it anymore. So I decided to make a big plunge. I was a teacher at Eastern College, and I saw the farm sort of falling apart as such, and I felt I would like to do something different. When you see that I taught at Eastern, I wasn't necessarily involved in agriculture. I haven't really got much of an agriculture background, apart from actually growing up on the farm till I was 16 or 17, and then went on to university. And then when I came back, I worked in the sport and leisure industry. Obviously the farm had stopped doing the pigs by then. So I'm learning all the time. I've cleared the site. As you can see, some of the areas have cleared, and we've introduced a caravan site in 2018, and we've noticed that as things have evolved, we're looking to introduce a nature-friendly ecotourism site for a small farm. Hang on, what's not happening? Here we go. So we're looking to introduce nature. We've got behind the circle there, you can see there's 3 large fields. Those large fields are now been put into the countryside stewardship scheme. And well, I say large fields, small in comparison. So those have now been turned into the countryside stewardship scheme. And the right-hand side is where we're sort of starting a small nature reserve. In that small square there, we have a millennium wood, which obviously was planted with my father. I planted that in 2000, and it's doing quite well. But we're now looking to extend that further east. And in that little square on the right-hand side here was a small pond. So we decided to do a pond enlargement, and you'll see that in a second. So we've decided to do a small nature reserve in essence. And over the last year, we've been doing surveys. I don't know if you saw the stats there a minute ago. We've got 9 different species of bat, 391 species of moth, and up to about 80 odd species of birds. And from just having the pond dug out last year, it's already starting to look good and established. So through the FiPL project, we've applied for a new bridge, which is going to be put in here. There was one there originally, but when we did this drain, we noticed that the bridge was rotten, and so we've applied for the bridge, and we've got the funding for that. And we thought we'd introduce some additional nest boxes. So we're going to put some extra ones in our millennium wood, but also some in the open area here for insects, bee hotels, and that kind of thing, bug hotels, that kind of thing. And we're creating small habitats in here. And then around the pond, we're going to be putting some additional bird boxes, but also a site, I'll put a bank in for some kingfishers. There used to be we used to see kingfishers about, but we hadn't seen them for about 15 or 20 years. And then ironically, I just saw one last year, and we think that maybe because of the pond being established. My father used to work with his brother, who was a teacher, and they used to do educational visits back in the 80s and 90s, and that is something that we're looking to go down next. So we did the initial project with FiPL, where we looked at the bridge and the boxes, and the application was straightforward. Hannah was put in contact with me through Neil Flag there, and the application was quite straightforward. I managed to do it myself. I used the guidance information and the broad story rep, i.e. Hannah, and that helped. By using that guidance, I was able to identify exactly how it fitted in with the objectives of the grant. The more time-consuming thing I found was actually researching for the bridges, for example, finding the right type of bridge and getting the costs for them. And obviously, with recent cost changes, I had to move quite quickly with that. I think I can't remember when did we start the process. Just before Christmas, I think, wasn't it, Hannah? And already it's all been completed, and the bridge is on order, and we hopefully should be installing that in the end of March. And my second batch of bird boxes arrived just yesterday. Actually, the Kingfisher boxes, tunnels, should I say, arrived yesterday. And what we are looking to do now with the farm, and it's quite interesting hearing about Deepdale and also what Joe is doing, because some of the things that we're looking to establish, this is the pond now, and how it's now, it was only maybe 10 meters by about 20 meters, and now it's about 50 meters by about 40 meters. You know, it's with an island. We're looking to raise the water level. We're going to hopefully expand the reed bed as well, and like I said, is look to have educational visits in the future. We're going to have a designated walkway around the area, and we have quite a few people who are interested who stay in the Caramison site who are actually wildlife photographers as well. So we're looking to introduce hides for them. And you know, being a small farm, you know, the buildings aren't fit for purpose now in terms of, you know, using livestock as such. So we've had to go in a different tangent. I'm not experienced in livestock myself, but I do have a great interest in nature and wildlife. And so all these photos you've seen has been taken by a 15-year-old who lives in the village. And so with that, we've got other people who've been interested in, you know, who've stayed on the site, have seen our photos on social media. And so in terms of the application process, in terms of the FiPL, we are going to be looking to put in an additional bridge, but a sluice bridge so that we can control the water levels, because the water level is not high in that pond at the moment. And we want to raise that and extend the water level further. And then we're going to possibly look at getting some bird hides in as well and controlling the access. And that's pretty much it for me, nice and short and sweet.